How many of you have owned more than one microphone in your career?
How many own more than one microphone of different types right now?
Yes. Okay. What Phil said for the tape was how many own other microphones. All of us have several microphones in our possession. The first one that I think I started out with was the little A static, the little silver A static. Now, I didn't know anything about microphones, so I bought that microphone because the guy who was teaching me to call said, this is the microphone you need. No, okay. And so that's what I went and bought. I had a problem with that microphone having feedback issues that I've never had with any other microphone. So I went and chose a different microphone, and I liked the sound for maybe a little while, and then it would begin to... I'd hear somebody else's, and I'd think, oh, I got to go get that. So we end up with this selection of 4 or 5 microphones. We have our opinion of how we sound on those microphones, but maybe we also need to ask for input from those that are on the other side of the microphone, how it sounds, and how pleasant it is or unpleasant it is. I know everyone's choice of patter music is personal. We just thought we would put some generalized patter stuff up there. I can give a demonstration. You guys can give a little bit of feedback, and then Dick can take us into the...
Don't say feedback.
Feedback? What word would you like me to use instead? I know feedback's not a good thing. Okay, squeal. Dick can give us the squeal on which one of the microphones are actually most appropriate for your voice. Do you want to just go ahead and put something on? Okay, let's try a piece of music here. Hi, we have sound. Okay, now, what is this little microphone that I have here, Dick? He looked down his nose at this thing like...
Oh, yeah. That's a genuine digital reference made in China.
Okay. Digital reference made in China. This is what we're listening to right now. Bow to the partner corners, all an element left with the corner of the hall. Go forward 2 with the right and a left, make an element dar. So that's my voice on this particular microphone. This is a 267. You hear a difference with me even just speaking, all right? So now I'm going to try and do a little bit of calling. Bow to the partner corner 2, an element left with the corner 1. Go forward 2, right and left, element arm into the middle and back it on down. Do you want one number 1 or number 2? Okay, some people are saying number 1. Some people are saying number 2. All right, okay, here comes another one. This is a 767. This is my mic. Not my personal microphone, but the brand that I like the best, okay? Bow to the partner corner 2, an element left with the corners 2. Go forward 2, right and left, element there. Men to the middle and back it on down. That was number 3. So we have 1 or 2 or 3. 3? Okay, number 3. Now that's just my voice. For somebody else picking up the same 3 microphones, one of the others might sound better. Okay. Oh, he's got lots more. Actually, I wanted a couple of male voices, and then we want to open it up to anyone who would like to come up and try. And those of you that are out there can give your honest feedback as to which microphone you think sounds the best. So I'm going to turn this over to Dick.
Okay. Yes.
Jay.
Where's the tone control set? What I did is we have 3 microphones plugged in, and I tried setting the volume and tone control exactly the same. One of the things I will say when you're checking out different microphones, if you can, it's better to switch it on the same mic cord so that you're going through the same circuit and everything. Okay, am I getting too loud for people out there? Sorry about that. Typical caller. I'm trying to be too loud. Sorry. But if you can just change out the microphone on the cord, it's the best way to do it because you're not being influenced by what the circuit is doing. Any amplifier, like in the MA150 here, we have 4 mic inputs. There are going to be slight differences between the 4 mic inputs. And so if you're checking a mic to where you want to find out which mic works best for you, try to stay on the same circuit with the same tone and volume controls. Just change out the mic. That way you know you're not being influenced by maybe the one mic circuit's a little sharper or a little more bass than the other one. See how Dick sounds. Okay. I like the other one. That one's good, though. Wait about of the partner, corner two, circle left. All 8 of you, circle to the left, go round the ring. 4 men make a right-hand star, roll it round the ring and now. Okay, that's number 1. That's our 767, the one you want, like with Deborah. So let me try. Side 2. Where are we at? That's the number 1 there. Okay. Head 2 couple square through, go 4 hands around the ring and now. Now to me, I can already tell I don't like it because to me it sounds like I'm calling through a screen. It sounds muffled to me. Side 2 square through 4. I would drop this microphone real quick personally. That's their generic one that they have up there just for use. This is the 267, which is kind of the entry model of the Electro Voice mics. But when I say that to people, I always add the caveat that even though it's the entry model, it's a very fine all-around microphone. So, side 2, lead to the right, circle up 4. Break on out and make me lines up to the middle and back. Now touch quarter, coordinate. Hey, bend the line, load the boat, sink or float, you're moving on around the ring and now. Side 2, square through 4, this is the 767. And a right or left through the outside 2, veer to the left. Ferris wheel. It's a little sharper, a little clearer. Yeah, it is definitely the sharpest, clearest one. Yeah, the 767, just from a sales point of view, is the one we sell the most of at Hilton Audio. You want to hear the 967? We have one here.
Do any of you? Wow, and this one you have to run a lot hotter because all the dials are set exactly the same. So this one, it takes a lot more oomph to pull it up. Do any of you use wireless microphones? Oh, okay. All right. It's good to know.
Of those that use wireless microphones, do you all use headsets or does somebody not use a headset? Headset. Okay. Yeah. Just make sure. Pet peeve of mine, do not use a lavalier with a wireless. Headset's always going to work better no matter what brand you've got. Ooh, I'm louder than Deborah? Son of a gun. Okay. You want to turn me down? She's turning me down as we talk. Side 2, square through 4. This is the 967. Do a right or left through the outside 2. Veer to the left. Couple circulate. Chain down the line. Now for me, I personally don't like the 967, even though it's one of the more expensive Electro Voice mics, because it cuts too much of the highs out. I'll give you a little background on the 967. This microphone was designed by Electro Voice for use by rock and roll bands in live performances. So what they did, they set out to design a microphone that would have the least possibility of feedback. And the way you do that with a microphone is you cut out the highs, because most of our feedback occurs in the higher registry. So if you cut out the highs, you're going to be less prone to feedback. The microphone also has a much larger diaphragm than most of them, and because of that, it's got more bass response than most. It'll hit a lower note. I don't have maybe John Jones would be able to sound really good bass. Of course, nobody would understand what he was saying because the highs are all gone out of it. But just be careful on your microphones. the 967 is a microphone that can get you into trouble because of the fact that star through, swing through, things that dancers need to hear do not come through it as clear and crisply as on the other Electro Voice mics.
So what did you decide for Dick, everyone? Was it the 767? And since our dear Charlie is sitting up here and it's his phone that we're using, bless his heart, we'd like to have your male voice, and then I'd like to get a girl that would be willing to come up and do a little bit of voice stuff.
I don't even think we need the generic microphone personally.
Really?
Do you want to throw that in, guys?
Okay.
You want to compare it?
No.
It's really muffled. Yeah. Here's the 767 if you want to give Charlie a shot with it. How about a hand for Mr. Charlie Fagan?
Out of the partner, here corner two, circle to the left, oh yes you do, circle to the left and then ladies center man sachet. Circle to the left and you're on your way, the ladies center and the men sachet. Doing out a man left with a corner, go forward three. But on your third hand, grand right and a right and left grand. Hand over hand and a heel over heel, and the more you dance, it's the better you feel. Here's where the heads move into the center. Touch 1/4. You 4, walk and dodge. Everybody gonna touch 1/4. Split circulate. Boy, run around the date. And a right and left through, turn the girl. Then the lady lead with a Dixie style.
Okay, which one did you like best, guys? Number 2.
The second one.
Ah, that's interesting. Okay. That's the 267. With Deborah and I, you like the 767 better. Okay.
It's a very individual thing.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Charlie just asked Dick if he could trade in his 767. Maybe he could get a deal.
Do we have some people that would like to come up and try the various mics, or a particular one they'd like to try?
Please, Janet, come on up.
Yeah, which one? Pick a mic, any mic. In regard to using a windscreen over it, I've seen callers and other people use it. Dick, what do you feel about that?
Well, I have strong opinions on it. The only time I think you should ever use a windscreen, external windscreen, is if you are outside. You say you're at a county fair doing a dance or something, and it's windier than heck. That's what they're designed for. I personally feel they're terrible to use at a dance or anything because they do tend to muffle. You end up with a much more muffled sound. You've turned a very good microphone into a very mediocre microphone by putting a lot of foam between it and the element of the microphone.
The question for the tape is, for the recording is that do you have microphones that are quote unquote better for men or better for women?
The 367, which I happen to have here, we haven't tried it yet. When Electro Voice first came out with the 367, they promoted it purely as a woman's lead vocal microphone. That's what they called it. At the time, I was very good friends with the Electro Voice rep for Northern California, and I asked him, how can a microphone tell the difference between a gender? And his opinion was like mine, in that we both felt that it was a marketing thing. You have to listen to your voice on a microphone and have somebody that you trust listen to you, and that's the way you pick a microphone. Don't do it because somebody at the marketing in Electro Voice said this microphone's designed for women. It also sounds very good. It's an excellent microphone, don't get me wrong, but we sell a lot of them to guys too. I mean, they're a great mic.
Now you battle the partners, corners two. Join up hands, circle to the left, go walking around your set. do an alum and a lift your corner man. Back to your partner with a right and left grand.
What she was just on was the 767.
And this one is a 367. Heads forward, up to the middle and back. Now square through four. Four hands around this ring and go. Do side do with the outside two. You make two ocean waves. You swing through. And now let's vote.
The group is telling Janet they liked that second microphone much better. They said her voice sounded warmer. I thought it was clearer. That's a 367, and that's the microphone that Janet owns. Yeah, you sure do. I just wanted to make sure. 1, 2. Which one is this plugged into? I seem to be so low on this one. It's the green one. Number 4? Okay. Yeah, that just seemed to be really low for me. I'm not too low. I'm cutting in and out. That's what was happening with us earlier as well. Anybody else want to come up and try it? Here comes Jay King. All right, Jay. Will do.
Okay, I've been calling for a little over 40 years, and I have difficulty with calling with other callers because somebody else is handling, the amplifier and all. And it seems to me that I come across really muffled. And so when I'm calling with my club, I take the tone control totally off bass all the way to treble only, and that gives me a sharper sound. I think it carries better. But when I get on a system with other callers, I cannot, for the life of me, get a more treble sound. So the microphones, I guess, have different frequency responses, yes. So some of them will emphasize bass. Some of them, I presume, would emphasize treble. So which one would you say would be more likely for somebody like me that needs a little treble and not so much bass?
767, most likely, but the 367 would also be a good one for you to try. The one you don't want to try is the 967.
Okay. 767. All right, just going about the honey in a corner too, and bring up the music. I can't tell where I'm supposed to be. Circle to the left, go round with you. Hey, alley man left with your left hand. Come on back, boxing out. Wrong way, grand around the square. All the way, and here we go. And I like this one. What about you guys? Boxing out and then a right and left grand. Here we go. Did you move the tone controls on the mic? Okay, so these two guys are turned. Oh, that's volume. Okay, so tones up here and there. Okay, interesting.
Tone it.
That's a 367.
The tone settings are exactly at 12 o'clock for all of them.
No, in his case, the 367 was also probably the better one, the one I think most of you liked better. And here again, it couldn't tell he wasn't a woman. I just want to point that out.
Anyone else feeling brave? Here comes Bill Silver from the back. All right.
I do have a question, not necessarily about which microphone was it, but I've heard from two different versions, and that is where to position the microphone in front of you. One of my mentor from years ago taught us to use the thumb system, where you put your where you use the thumb to hold it. That way it's. But I had a workshop we did once, and they were showing that we should take the microphone and more or less position it, instead of down like this, to position it up this way.
Yes.
See?
That will make a huge, huge difference.
And I've been doing that the last couple of weeks since I did that. Okay, which one I got here? This is the 367.
Isn't it also true that the closer you are to the mic, the bassier it's going to be?
Please repeat that.
And
on
the
the
one
mic.
thing I with is
The question, which one am I on here? Check. Okay.
Color-coded
The
white.
question was, and I'm probably going to get too loud again, so back off here. The question was, when you get closer, doesn't it? In the bass is more. Yeah, the proximity effects you get from a bass. You'll notice with singers on TV that really are good, professional singers that are really good at using a microphone. A lot of the time when they're hitting that high note, they'll pull the microphone away, and it'll still pick up the highs fine, but the bass isn't there. And then at the same time, if you want to get the bass response, if you want to try sounding like John Jones, you try to get it bassy and get it real close and right into it. Like I can't do it like John, but you know what?
You know,
I'm
I've
not
noticed
picking
this
on
whole
John.
week.
I love
this whole
John.
week they've been on John. I don't know what this is.
There should be space between your lips and the top of the microphone. If you have pretty good sized fingers, you can maybe make it one finger. If you have tiny little fingers, it should be perhaps 2 fingers. The closer it is to the lips, can you hear the difference? The closer that I move it. So I want it to be out about there, maybe an inch or so between the lips and the top of the microphone. If I see someone whose microphone, if it's a woman caller or cuer, and I see lipstick and gook and face makeup and all that kind of caca all over the top of the microphone, that's someone who does not have their microphone positioned in the place where it's going to make them sound the best. And mine has bumped against my teeth or, about against my face or something on time to time. But most of the time, my microphone is very clean because I'm very careful about where I put it. I want my voice going right out into the top of this microphone. I used to hold my microphone out here. For those of you on the tape, I have got my microphone held out sideways to the side of my mouth. Until I had someone who was mentoring me say, Deborah, are you calling or brushing your teeth? All right, just long out there. And that gave me the idea of, it painted a picture for me about what it looked like, and I needed to have that microphone back in front of my face.
You also just get better overall tone response if you're talking directly into it, as long as you're not overdriving it.
That's absolutely correct. There was some hands up in the back, and I didn't mean to talk over them. Ron, you're going to have to get on the microphone if you want to say something. Well, there was, let's see. I believe it's plugged in to number 2. It's not quite on. There we go. No, I see little red lights on. Is it on? Nada.
New battery.
Okay.
The difference also, for those of you who are listening by tape, to where you place a microphone. I normally put it right under my lip and hang the microphone down a little bit. For those of you who spit and or pronounce your P's and T's, the effort of the voice going over does not rattle the microphone as much as you put it directly in front of your mouth.
But you have it too close.
I'm sorry?
Now. It's too close to your mouth right
That's
now.
right. So taking it and hanging it down lets you do your P's and T's and S's without spitting into the microphone.
And if it's resting on your chin, however, you are also interfering with your diction. If you're hanging something here that's on your chin, it can interfere with your diction. There's goods and bads to both. If you're someone who has a sibilant problem, then there's ways to fix that too, isn't there, Dick? If you've got a problem with S's or T's, you pop your sounds like what Ron is trying to say. How can you help fix that using the set? Or does it need a different microphone? Here, baby.
you run into so much with the tone controls that you can do a lot with the tone controls, and here again it becomes individual. That's why it's an adjustable control, finding what works best for you. But the other thing I would say, you're going to get into, I'm not necessarily going to say arguments, but exactly how you hold the microphone. The one thing I would say that is really important is consistency, because if whether you hold the microphone like Deborah or like Ron is saying, the main thing is to be, as far as I'm concerned, for the dancers, is to be consistent, because as long as you're consistent, your voice is going to stay clear through the whole thing, and learn how to move your head with the microphone and everything. Keep it consistently in the same spot, and then if you find your particular microphone or the speaker you're using has too much sibilance to it, move your tone control a little bit more toward bass. That's one thing you do have control of, is controlling the tone control. But be consistent. One of the reasons, we were talking earlier about wireless mics, one of the reasons a lot of people get along real well with wireless mics, if you're using a good quality headset, that microphone, you don't have to touch it, and it's right in the perfect location all the time, no matter where your head moves to, and that's a good thing.
Go ahead. Back in the days when I learned to learn to call, one of the tests that we used to do to see how we sounded with different microphones was use a tape recorder. And by positioning your microphone, would that still be a valid test anymore? Sure. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, Charlie was saying, to record it. Yeah, obviously that can help. But I personally have always felt the number one thing is bring somebody when you go. If you have to go somewhere and to check out a microphone, bring your spouse, your partner, a good friend, somebody who knows you real well and knows your voice real well, and have them listen and work with you. I really think that's a big help, because particularly for newer callers, it's very hard for a newer caller to get over that the way their voice sounds on the microphone, and having somebody else in the back of 10, 20 feet away that can listen to it and can give you feedback on how it's working for you, and trying the different mics. Like we did earlier today, you guys voted on what you thought sounded the best. I think that's a real good idea if you can have it. Usually, obviously, can't take 12 of your favorite friends with you, but if you have one person with you that's familiar with your voice and everything, it's a big help on helping choose a microphone. But yeah, recording is obviously another option.
Also remember, now you can give us the technical side of this. The closer you have the mic to your mouth without eating it gives you more presence, because as soon as you start moving the mic away from your mouth, the louder you have to talk to compensate for the system. By the time you get done with 2 or 3 hours of the microphone down here, you're going to be hoarse. You don't have to work as hard with the microphone up here. Dick, what's the inverse ratio? Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, there is a law that says as you move away from a microphone, it drops off logarithmically. It doesn't drop off. So moving from 1 inch to 2 inch, you don't have half as much, you have a fourth. So it drops off faster as you move away from a microphone, and that becomes very obvious when you start playing with a microphone. And that's also why I'm saying get consistent on how you hold a microphone, so that you're always using it exactly the same way, and that you've gotten into a habit of moving your head with the microphone. You want to be talking, and there's nothing worse than I'm going to do this as a demonstration. A caller's calling along, and the caller's either waving the microphone like this, or they're doing this kind of number,
or they're keeping time with the microphone
exactly
like this.
Any of that.
Keeping the beat. I've seen that too.
It takes a lot of practice to get used to holding a microphone correctly, And the number one thing is to be consistent at the same spot, so that as you move, you're not moving the microphone around on you.
And you spend a lot of money for these microphones, so why not use them to their optimum effect by having them in the right place and leaving it there consistently? Bill, you've been very patient, my dear. It's your turn.
It was just that you were saying about the hole in the microphone. I was back in college. I had to take some speech class, and the speech teacher told us, make sure when you're doing a speech to look at your audience. So we're up there, and I had a habit of doing that. I had to break that habit when I first started calling, because I would go this way. Okay. All right, let's see what we got. Okay. Wave bottom your partner corners to an all four ladies chain straight across. Turn the girl. Join hands, circle to the left. Put the ladies in the men's sachet. Ladies in the men's sachet. Out on the left your corner. Box and add. Hang on, wrong way grand. Go. Meet your partner, pull her by. Out on the left. Walk in with her by the left grand. All the way around you go. Meet your girl, do a do-si-do. All four men, start by the left and the middle, all the way around. Pick up your girl with an arm around her, star promenade. Girls step out, take a back track, other way back. When you meet them, turn by the right, find the corner, out by the left.
Okay, who liked the mic he's calling on right now, which was also the first one? Who liked the second one? Okay, I like the second one a little bit myself, but that's 767. But here again, they were close. I hate to say it, Bill, but you sounded good on both. I have to add, I know Bill real well, and we were good friends.
How do we know when a microphone has died? Came the question from the floor.
Well, the most obvious thing is if it's actually dead. Now, to me, when somebody says my mic is dead, that means there is absolutely no sound coming out of it. Okay, that's a dead microphone, and it's pretty obvious. It's usually one of two things. It's either the mic or the cord. Both can cause it. Any caller that's calling very often, frequently, make sure you have a backup cord, backup microphone. And I don't say that just because I sell them. Honestly.
But it doesn't hoit.
Yeah, it doesn't hoit. But you should have backups on both. Even if the second microphone isn't as good a quality and as expensive as the second one, nothing worse than have to stop a dance because your microphone died in the middle of a dance. That being said, the other things that go bad with microphones, some models have different problems. Some models will get tinny. It sounded like you're talking through a tin can. That's another very obvious problem.
So microphones, I want to understand this. So I buy a microphone, it has a certain sound when I buy it, and I go out and I have that same microphone for 3 or 4 years. Is that microphone going to change how it sounds?
Not normally if you're taking good care of it. What will change is there's a foam filter under the middle screen, and the foam filters disintegrate over time, and it's a good idea to replace them periodically. Deborah is unscrewing one and kind of showing that the inner part has the foam in it, and you can pull that out and put a new foam filter in it. That's the key thing to keeping a mic in good shape. At the same time, some mics will last forever. This is probably a bad sales pitch for me, but I have been using the same ND256, which was the original version of the 267, since 1988, and I still use the exact same mic. Over that period of time, I have changed the metal grill 3 or 4 times. I've changed the filter at least once a year. I've changed the rubber grip on it 2 or 3 times. They can last a long time. I would also say people vary. Some people, just their natural, there's a little more acidity in the moisture that comes out of your voice. That's harder on a microphone, and it does vary a bit between people. Some people have a harder time keeping a mic long term.
Question.
So what you're saying is on the general care and maintenance, I could take that foam out and I could wash it, say, depending upon how much I used it, once every 2 or 3 months and let it dry clearly before I put it back in?
And same with the screen top. Yeah. Have any of you ever seen another caller's microphone and it just gave you the heebie-jeebies? Because there's all this brown guck stuck to the top of it. That used to especially be evident with callers who smoked.
Or chew tobacco. I have seen microphones from callers who chewed tobacco, and I didn't even want to touch the microphone.
Yeah. Oh, that's awful. Yeah, and the makeup, and you can take that. You saw how I just undid the top, take the little piece of foam out, and then you have that screened dome. And that can be cleaned with. Is it all right to use alcohol on it? A little alcohol and a soft brush.
I'm much more brutal than
you
that,
are.
Deborah.
All right. Well,
once you have the screen off, there's nothing electronic to get damaged. When I clean a screen, I'll put liquid Comet on it.
Wow.
No, seriously, if it's got some stains in it, and some microphones can get pretty nasty. Once all your cleaning is a middle screen. I mean, you don't have to worry about the microphone itself. I'll use a little liquid Comet and use your old toothbrush, not your current one, but your old toothbrush, and just brush it up good inside, outside, and then flush it out with a lot of water. Set it off on the side for a few hours to make sure it's 100% dry, and then put the foam filter back in it, and then you're back in good shape.
Is the foam, the question was from the back of the hall, is that foam piece available, or do we just cut some, like a little piece of sponge?
They do make a replacement. Electro-Voice makes a foam filter to go in them. We also, personally, we stock the metal grills and the rubber sleeves, because those are the parts that break down on them.
Okay. And then there was another question up here in the front, was there? Did I miss a question? Yes? I'm sorry. Did I miss somebody over there? Come on up to the mic.
Yeah, I was going to ask the question that was just asked, but also what I heard is you're recommending that foam be replaced every year if you're calling frequently.
I would say so. On the mic? Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, Deborah. No, as a general rule, but it is definitely a general rule. In the old days, when we were using records all the time, the question in those days was, how often do I change the needle? Okay. Nowadays, it's how often do I change the filter in my microphone. There really isn't a set rule, and because, like I mentioned, some people are harder on it. Some people can be calling on a microphone for 3 months, and the foam will disintegrate. I've seen it. Other people can be calling for 6 months or a year, and you look at it, and it's just slightly discolored, and cleaning it up is all it needs. So you need to just be aware that it's something that you need to check once in a while.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't see. A quick comment. In our area, the presidents will want to make an announcement and use our microphone. Well, I had a situation. The president got tangled up and pulled my mic off the table, and it bounced very graciously. After that, did not work. So I got into a habit of using an older mic, which is the old 635A, for them to use announcements. I've seen instances where they've sneezed into the caller's microphone, not to irritate anybody, but what I carry is those just little alcohol pads, and I wipe the top of my microphone if somebody uses it. And I think we need to re-educate our dance leaders and presidents that common courtesy is to ask the caller if they may use the microphone. Don't just go up and think it's part of their routine. So those are just some of the tricks I found out by a bad experience.
Thank you, Charlie. Jay King?
All right. How did Electro-Voice get to be the microphone of choice? Is Sharp microphones or the other brands just second rate?
Interesting question. I'll try not to talk too long on this. A number of years ago, I can remember back in the mid-'70s, the microphone of choice for most callers was the Astatic 810A. And there was a time period of almost 10 years, I think, where Astatic was the microphone for most people. During that time period, AKG also made some very nice microphones. When Electro-Voice came out with what are called the Endyne microphones, which are the ones we're talking about today, that was in the late 80s, around 86, 87, and by 88 it was pretty much the only thing that 90% or more of the callers were using. And the reason is the Endyne microphones just have a nice clarity to them that some of the other mics don't have. And as an example, the most popular microphone over the last 30 years, just general sales, is the Shure SM58. And if you talk to, say you're a new caller and you have a friend who has a band, and you go talk to him and you say, I'm thinking of a microphone. The most commonly referred one is going to be a Shure SM58. The problem is the Shure SM58, if we had one here and compared them side by side, it has a slightly muffled sound to it. It's just not as sharp on the high end. And the reason it doesn't make that much difference for for singers is in fact, he's got one there. Wow, amazing, brought one. I ask and it shows up. Thank you, Scott. That was Scott Bennett. Okay, it's Patty Green's. Okay. But like I said, it is the most popular microphone going, and I'm going to ask Deborah to talk on the two of them and see what you guys think. But generally speaking, they just don't have quite the sharpness and brightness.
This is the 767. This is my microphone of choice. And this is the silver ball one.
It's on?
It's on. But can you say, I would have to push or I would have to really turn up the volume here on the set. 1 2 1 2 1 2. All right. So there I am on the Shure. We'll leave it like that and let's put the other one back on. And here I am on that one. Can you hear the huge difference? Huge. For me, for my voice.
But don't be, when you're checking microphones, don't get, sometimes it can be confusing because some microphones have a hotter output than another microphone. That is marginally important, very marginally, because you have an amplifier with volume controls that'll make up that difference. The important thing is how your voice sounds on that microphone. Okay.
Dick, storing a microphone, taking it off and on the cord portion of it, what do you recommend? And rolling your mic cable.
Maybe it's personal preference, but at Hilton Audio, we have always taken the microphones off of the cord. That was the way I was trained to do it, and keep it separate. That's the way I have always done it. The other thing, as far as storing the cord, is just to avoid sharp bends in the cord. So if you roll it and loop it, that's going to be less likely to have a break in it. Patty? Would you like to talk on the two of them and see what the other people think? It's up to you. It's up to you. Yeah. Patty sounds good on anything, but here we go.
This is a 767. Talk, talk, talk. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. And this is the Shure 58. Talk, talk, talk. Chat, chat, chat. Talk, talk, talk. Chat, chat, chat. Shure 58. As opposed to the 767. This is the 367, which is different than the 747. 367. Crisp, clear.
Thank you, Patty.
Now, I never separate my microphone from the cord. I feel like it's just less tugging and pulling on it for me, so I just never do that. I always roll mine up. Any problem with that?
I don't think so. Like I said, part of it is habit. I talk to a lot of people that take the mic off every night. I talk to a lot of people that leave it on and roll it up. The key thing, the most important thing I would say is how you roll the cord, so you don't have this is going to be hard to get on the audio, but just looping the cord is the way we recommend because you don't have any sharp bends in it. I've seen a lot of people, like with our mic cables like this, they'll do this number. And then they smush it so it fits into a mic cozy type of thing. Definitely do not recommend doing that. That will break the cord over time. Uh-oh. Here.
Which microphone you want and the longest cord? Is this the longest cord?
He's just after the cord. He's not after the mic.
Okay.
John is going to show how he rolls up the microphone cord, and I roll mine the same way because it unrolls better. So he loops it, and then he back loops it, and then he loops it, and then he drops the microphone, and then he loops it. He just said it wasn't his microphone, so he didn't care. Yes, that's how I do mine too, the in and out.
And if you do it that way.
And now the unveiling. There you go. Yeah. How many of you have ever had it where it comes out and it's all tied together in these little circular things? Yeah. If you do this way, it won't do that. Yeah, and I've had them tie in knots and. Mm-hmm. All right. Any other questions? Question from the back, John, while you're up there. That all cords should be rolled the same way. Speaker cords and things roll over, roll under, loop it over, loop it under, and you'll be consistent with them. They store very easily together. You don't have one wadded up one way and one another. Any closing comments or any other questions before we... This has been a great session. Thank you all so very much for your patience with our situation here. Thank you, Charlie, for the use of your phone. Thank you, Dick Henschel. Have a great evening.